We have energy policy by litigation. I mean, we have CO2 regulations by litigation. We have all of this work being done by litigation because the policymakers are either too stumped or too stubborn or too partisan to give us real solutions in Washington, D.C. We aren't getting solutions from Washington, we're getting politics from Washington. We have a desperate need to be competitive going into this next century. How are we going to be competitive in America if we do not have an energy policy that delivers cheap energy to our industry? How are we going to be competitive looking forward when everybody else has been being innovative and everybody else has a policy and everybody else has a plan and all we have is politics? You know, I rolled out my discussion about energy, and I believe this. I believe that we can leave no source of energy behind. And I truly believe that there is a movement afoot, and it's been afoot for a long time, to leave coal behind. And it's absolutely short-sighted. It is divisive, it is short-sighted, and it will leave America uncompetitive, and we cannot let that happen. We have to... The future of our nation's economy depends on being smart about what we do. And so I think that we have to go back to ground zero, get everybody out of the playbox, everybody out of the kindergarten room, because that's what they seem like. We have to sit down in a room and talk about mutual goals. And I was just talking to Mac about, you know, what these new EPA regulations mean and what it means in terms of what's going to happen with the old facilities and whether people can actually move forward. I mean, they don't realize, and so many people who think that they know about energy policy don't realize we've got a 30, 40, 50-year event horizon. We can't plan for tomorrow, today. We can't plan for a year today. We have to plan for 20 years today. We cannot move this industry on a dime, and so we need to have reasoned discussion with public policymakers. We need to sit down and solve our problems. And so I laid out what I care about. I care about independence from foreign oil and foreign sources of power. Not just reduce our dependency. I believe in independence. I think we've got it here. I think we can make it happen. I think there's no reason why we can't supply our source of energy independently in this country. And think of what that will free up. If we want to talk about externalities, think about the externalities of two wars in the Gulf that we may not even have worried about that region of the country if it weren't for our supply of oil. And what does that cost us? I talk a lot about making sure that energy is affordable, that grandma can stay in her home and we aren't going to price her electricity so she can. We forget about those people. Everybody wants to talk about economic development and industrial sources, and that's good because that moves the country forward. But for the co-ops, at the end of the line, it's really about their end users and making sure that your product's affordable for them. Same thing is true for MDU, and same thing is true for Autotail and XL. I mean, we have to have affordable energy if we're going to be competitive. And then we have to have an energy source that is responsive and responsible without ratcheting it down. And I can tell you in my years of working in this industry, the industry is responsible and responsive. Think of the challenges that you have met and even exceeded. Every time they throw you a curveball, you've been able, every time they raise that bar a little higher, you've been able to jump over it. And Deb Levchuk and I often laugh that it's that vaulting over that now gives them an idea that they can set this bar 100 miles in the air and you'll still vault over it. At some point, that regulation becomes impossible to vault over. It becomes impossible to meet the needs of this country. So why me? I'm sure there's a lot of people who come in here and talk to you about the same issues that I'm talking to you about. But I will tell you this, I don't think anyone has more passion and more concern and is more willing to roll up their sleeves and say, this needs to end. I've already started, and I don't know if this is going to work out for me, but I've already started building those coalitions. And I can tell you there's people on both sides, and there's people on the Democratic side, who want a rational energy policy that makes sense for America. And you can imagine where they live, because they're in energy producing states.